Gentlemen, Dr. Greytok, once again, cooking with Dr. Greytok. Happy to see you. Thanks for everybody that gave me shout outs for the last video, 4 Ways with Eggs, Dr. Greytok's cooking show. Today, I took a lot of the feedback from you guys. I've got 2 new shows planned. We're gonna do this one on this, the second master class. Yes, I've changed venues. Believe me, I'm safe. No one's in the building! Completely empty in a house we have in a different state. So I'm here, I'm cooking. Glad you guys are joining me. Hey, today, one of the things I love on a cold day is a grilled cheese sandwich. So there are 3 different ways to make a grilled cheese sandwich. I'm going to show you guys the ways I like to make them. One is super fancy. Another grilled cheese quesadilla. Somebody requested that. Total shout out to that person, whoever requested quesadilla. I'm doing it. And just your standard grilled cheese. The key to a good grilled cheese is a nice brown crust on your bread, nice melty cheese, and then again, no real rules. You can do just about anything you want. So on my stove, I've got a nice hot plate. We got butter, we got bread, there's cheese around me. I'll bring it in as we need it. The first one we're going to start prepare that takes the longest is what is referred to as kind of the fancy grilled cheese. So I've got some really nice rye bread here. I got my butter, going to put it in the pan, get that nice and warm. So I get a nice brown crust, like a toasted crust on my bread. Also good to the key good point to a grilled cheese is making sure your slices of bread match up. It's kind of bad when you've got, all kinds of funky bread on either side. And in this particular one, it calls for me to butter the bread ever so slightly before I put it in the pan, even though it's going to be in a pan with melty bread, or melty butter, excuse me. And we will be getting a nice brown crust on our bread. So we'll put a little pressure on it once we get in there. And again, this is the fancy one. This is the one that takes a little bit more time. We're actually going to go in the oven with it. Oops. That's fun. And we're going to use our spatula to push down the bread a little bit. The idea is to basically create toast with your bread in the pan. So we get that nice brown. It's going to take about 3 or 4 minutes for that to happen. While that's toasting, let me show you what the kind of cheese we're going to use on that one. I already shredded some cheese for you guys. This particular cheese is a Swiss cheese called Gruyere. I've got my little knuckle buster shredder here. You got to be really careful with these. They are wicked sharp, and you bust a knuckle, you bleed in your cheese. Not a good time. So I did that prior because, goodness gracious, if I did bust a knuckle and got blood in the cheese, that would not be a good grilled cheese sandwich. So this is what we're going to use for the fancy grilled cheese that we're going to stick in the oven when this gets nice and brown and toasted, which it shouldn't take too long. Let me tell you about the other utensils we're using. Obviously, we got a knife to help cut cheese, also cut butter. Another good key to a good grilled cheese, making sure all your ingredients are nice and warm. What does that mean? Room temperature. Make sure your cheese is room temperature. We've got other cheese around here. Make sure your butter is room temperature. Why? It melts faster. It's a lot easier to work with. And when you put all that stuff and all those ingredients together, you get a really good, yummy, gooey, melty cheese sandwich on the inside. If it goes in cold, you're going to have nice toast on the top and the bottom of some of your grilled cheese, and the cheese in the middle isn't melted. And that's very frustrating. So, another key and a good element. The pan we're using today is a non-stick pan, which is helpful. Somebody would say, well, Dr. Greytok, shouldn't you use a stainless steel pan or a cast iron pan or something like that to try to get your grilled cheese nice and brown? You can totally do that. I have found as long as your pan is nice and hot, that even a non-stick will help get it nice and brown. The other thing that's great about a non-stick, if for some reason you spill your cheese, in other words, your cheese melts out over the side of your sandwich, non-stick a lot easier to clean up. So we're sticking with basically the same type of non-stick we had before, using again our spatula to push down. All of the butter is out of this pan right now. It is all into the bread, which means that bread is going to taste super yummy. And let's just check to see how brown it's getting. Because of course we do want it nice and brown. Oh yeah, look at that. Looking good. Looking really, really good. I'll pick one up and show you guys how good it's looking. You can see again, nice and brown on the bottom of that bread. We're going to let it stay in there just a little bit longer before we stick it in the oven. Now, somebody might be saying, well, why, Dr. Greytok, aren't you just doing it like a regular grilled cheese right now? Well, the reason is we want a really crunchy bread. So this is going to give us the extra crunch. If you happen to be one of those KFC guys that likes extra crispy, this is going to be an extra crispy grilled cheese sandwich. So that's why we start with our bread, no cheese first, in the pan, lots of butter, getting it nice and brown. What are we going to do when it's after? We're going to stick it in the oven on a nice sheet. This again, because it's fancy, we've got our wire rack on top of a pan. That's going to allow airflow underneath. You can probably hear the oven I'm using. The oven I'm using actually happens to be a convection oven. Oh, that's perfect. We're going to take these out now. Because it's a convection oven, it naturally allows for airflow around the food. And with the bread on top of a pan like this, a wire rack, it's going to get even more and more crispy. All right, so final step before we put it in the oven, cheese. So I take my shredded Gruyere and I put it right on top. I don't need to add any extra butter. There's already plenty of butter in there. And when I stick this in the oven, all this yummy goodness, all this cheese is going to melt. It's going to bubble up. It's probably going to get a little bit brown. Gruyere, by the way, is a Swiss cheese. It is not your standard Swiss. It doesn't come with like holes in it and things like that you might think about. And it is super yummy and super great on a grilled cheese. But again, this is the fancy one. This is like super fancy. So that's okay. Okay, oven's already set. Wire rack ready to go. In it goes. Timer. This is a timer for 10 minutes. I got my little rooster timer here. I don't even know if this thing works anymore. We're going to slap 10 minutes on it. See what happens. That'll go off in 10 minutes. All right, next one. Let's go regular grilled cheese. Next. So regular grilled cheese. Got to go white bread, right? Definitely white bread. Now, how I make a regular grilled cheese might be different than how you might make a regular grilled cheese. Again, no rules. But this is how I do it. I got my butter, I got my pan. I don't butter my bread. I put butter right in the pan. Why? Because I know if I do it right, I'm going to have plenty of melted goodness in there with my butter. And I will actually add more butter after I flip it. Cheese, American, nice thinly sliced. I go 4 thin slices. Okay, why American? Why not? You can use any cheese though, but American melts really, really well on a grilled cheese. Sorry. Whether you use white American, yellow American, almost any type of deli cheese, if it's warm to room temperature, will melt really, really well on a sandwich. I want to make sure my bread slices match up correctly. Voila, perfect. Little hanging over the edge, that's fine. Now, here's the other trick. Oh, my butter is now melted. Let it sizzle a little bit. Get some of the water out of there. Yes, I'm disappearing, I know. I'm going to show you the other trick. Lid. Why? Bakes as well as keeps the top nice and warm. In it goes. Stir it up, make sure we get some butter. The heat's good. Center it. Lid it. With the lid on, now I'm going to get some heat not only on the bottom of the pan, but around, and it's going to help to melt the cheese. We're going to leave that in there probably about 3 minutes or so. Really let it get nice and melty. It'll be super yummy. So while that's going, we got our first one, our fancy grilled cheese. Yum. In the oven, we have our standard grilled cheese working for us right here on the stove. Final grilled cheese sandwich, as I mentioned before, quesadilla. Super simple, super easy, probably the easiest of all grilled cheeses because you really don't even need butter. Non-stick pan, 2 tortillas. You can use cheese, you can use flour. I use flour. Cheese tortilla? No, corn tortilla. Use a corn tortilla or a flour tortilla. Almost every quesadilla I've ever known has always been a flour. I don't know how corn works, never made it that way. Of course, I put my tortillas and my cheese over there, so I got to bring them into the frame. But I'll put that together for you guys. We'll take this one out, and immediately we take that, the regular grilled cheese out. We'll throw the quesadilla in, and it's super simple. Again, same idea. Want to get nice brown on the bottom, nice melty cheese, flip it over, nice brown on the other side, take it out, cut it. It'll be fantastic. All right, so I got my quesadillas, I got my cheese, and I got my cutting board. Cutting board, boom, boom. 2 quesadillas. Cheese, again, already shredded in a bag. Almost any supermarket you go to has some type of taco cheese, cheddar cheese, mozzarella cheese, Mexican cheese, whatever kind of cheese you want to use, but I do encourage shredded. Does it mean you have to use shredded? No. It just melts easier. And again, my shredded cheese has been out for a little bit. Now, here's the other thing I've tried to find out about quesadillas. If you get really good melty cheese, they leak. So I found the key to a quesadilla, a good one, is try to put the cheese a little bit more in the middle of your tortilla. So again, you can see I got a nice big mound right towards the middle. That's the bottom one, and on goes the top. Really simple. All right. While that's been working, let's check this grilled cheese, see how it's doing. Ooh, it's looking good. All right, now I'm going to take it out just for a hot second because I also want to put a little bit more butter back into the pan for when I flip it over. Melt that butter up. Now here's something else I found. When you flip it and put it in on the other side, it doesn't actually have to stay in quite as long. Why? Well, because the bread's already a little bit hot. Remember, we put a lid on that cheese sandwich. Oh no, it's not brown enough. Things moved. All right, let's turn it up just a little bit. And we'll let it go. All right, so while that's cooking, again, quesadilla. Now, here's the other thing. What you want to put in your grilled cheese is totally up to you. Again, no rules. I've done a grilled ham and cheese. I've done a grilled prosciutto and cheese. I've done a grilled cheese and tomato. Not my favorite. I've done grilled cheese and bacon, which is super yummy. So you can do anything. And with a quesadilla, the nice thing is you can put a little chopped onion in there, a little salsa in there. You can use stuff on the side. So after you have your melted cheese, you can dip into stuff, guacamole, sour cream, whatever you want. And the other quesadillas that are really yummy is quesadillas with meat in it, with steak, with chicken, shrimp. All that stuff's really, really good. So another thing that we can do with our quesadilla. Believe it or not, the stuff in the oven, let's check on it. Let's just see how it's doing. I'm not going to show you guys what's going on. I'm just going to take a look. Looking good. All melty. Hasn't started to brown just yet. It'll probably take a couple more minutes for that to happen. Once it's brown, then we're good. Let's see how this guy's doing. I'm a little bummed. It is totally melty. I'm a little bummed that this side didn't brown as much as it's supposed to, but hey, that happens. I also, when I'm cooking a grilled cheese, I usually only cook one at a time. Now that side looks perfect. Absolutely perfect. So we're just going to leave it in there. We'll let the other side brown. We'll take it out, let it rest, slice into it. You'll get to see the yummy cheese goodness. When I bring that out, I'll put the quesadilla in. And again, it's the same process. Let it cook on one side, get brown, turn it over. Turning a quesadilla is really tricky. I'll show you my trick to doing that. And then we'll put it back in, and we'll be done. The one in the other oven will be done. And then we get to eat. All right, that should be good enough. Let's see, we get most of the butter out of here. Oh, the meltiness on this cheese, it looks fantastic. Super duper melty, super duper yummy. And again, we've got a nice brown crust, nice and crisp, nice and warm. I'll turn it up just a little bit more, finish it off, and again, get that little last bit of butter into that bread, soak it up, crisp it up, and we're good. All right, flip it over. Boom! All right, while that's there, in goes the quesadilla. Pan's already nice and hot, which is great. Won't take long for that to warm up. Just get the last little bit of that butter out of there. Push that down. I'm actually going to cover it as well. You don't have to. Let's not cover it. Let's just let it go. And again, push down a little bit. Turn the heat down, not up. All right, so let's take a look at this masterpiece we just pulled out, huh? Look at that. Look how nice and brown, nice and even brown there. And a nice even brown on the other side. Now listen to it too. You ready? Listen. Oh, hear that crunch? Oh my gosh. Oh, I had to cut in the bottom. And talk about yummy, cheesy goodness. All melty. Look, melty on the side. Really good crunch. Really good flavor. Really good grilled cheese sandwich. Okay. Sorry, burned myself a little bit there. Again, I'm moving the tortilla around a little bit, and I'm also have the top, because the top's not hot yet, I can get a sense of how well the cheese is melting as I push down. While that's doing that, let's take a look at our other grilled cheese. The one in the oven, the fancy one, as I get my grill hands on. Oh, not yet. Almost. Should have put more cheese on. Too late. Well, I probably could pull it out and put more cheese, but we're going to leave it. Instead, I'm going to have another bite of my grilled cheese. So good. Crazy, crazy good. All right. We're ready to flip this one. When cheese is melting, I'm fairly certain it's brown. Okay, so here's the trick. Now I'm going to do it barehanded. 10 minutes. Not ready yet. I already checked it. Normally you can do this with a glove. Not going to hurt yourself, you got a glove on. I'm going to go barehanded. Well, you know what, I'm going to practice safety. I got 2 grill hands. We'll practice safety. These are clean. Take it, death-defying motion, flip it. Look how nice and brown. Drop it back in the pan, back on the oven. Ta-da! Awesome looking quesadilla. We got to make a little bit of room for it though, because we're going to put it on here, we're going to cut it up. Try to use the same knife. And again, we didn't need this for the quesadilla. Came out great with the grilled cheese because it helped to make that cheese super melty, which was awesome. Quesadilla, don't need it. Now, I'm not silly enough to put my hand on a hot quesadilla. Use my spatula. Oh, again, gentlemen, the spatula I'm using is plastic. Do not ever use any metal utensils in a non-stick pan. Why? It can scratch the coating in the non-stick pan, it becomes non-stick. Not good, not the way we want to go. All right, as I mentioned before, one of the things with a quesadilla, if you're not too careful and you're pushing down, your cheese gets melty, it sleeps out on the side. You can hear that sizzle, that's what's going on right now. And that's okay. It's going to leave a little brown kind of gooey, cheesy crust on it. But it's, if it wasn't a non-stick pan, it would be a real pain to clean. A lot of difficult, a lot of energy, a lot of effort. But it's not. And the other thing that's kind of nice is some of the cheese that's dripped out. And because it's non-stick, the cheese is actually starting to brown. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'll show it to you. See the little edge there? See how the cheese, when it's kind of running, it's crackling, it's also starting to brown. One of the cool things about this kind of cheese, this type of cheddar cheese that we're using, is when it hits a hot pan, the moisture in the cheese evaporates and it browns. You can actually make a crusty pizza of just cheese, a little tomato sauce, and pepperoni. And maybe one day I'll show you guys how to do that. All right, we're gonna take out the quesadilla. Don't even need my spatula. Slides right out. Move the hot pan over there. All right, we're gonna let that cool just a little bit before we slice it. And now that our 10 minutes are up, fairly certain our other cheese sandwich is done. Yeah. Didn't get super bubbly and super brown, but it is super duper crispy. Okay, we got cheese on both sides. So if I had a little bit more patience, which I don't right now today, I would let that sit a little bit longer and a little bit more bubbly. But the crazy thing about this particular fancy grilled cheese is it is going to be ridiculously crunchy. Okay, so I'm going to bring it over. Yeah, right up under the camera, you can see it. Listen to that crunch. Oh, I can't even cut it. It is so crunchy. So if you like a really, really, really good hard crunch and melty cheese, this is absolutely fantastic. This is a great one. This holds up to soup really, really well. Okay, it's a little hot. Don't want to burn my mouth. Gonna finish this one. Oh, so good. Since I don't want to dirty any more utensils, I'll cut the quesadilla with the knife I've been using, so you guys can see that. And this also, again, look at that. Super yummy. A little bit of cheese in there. Nice and hot. Really, really good. And again, no rules of what you want to throw in there. You want to throw some chicken in there, you want to throw some onions and tomato, anything like that, it's all good. All right, this guy with the Gruyere cheese, ready to go. Listen to what's crunch. So good. Absolutely outstanding. All right, gentlemen. Grilled cheese, 3 different ways. Fancy in the oven, where you brown 2 slices of bread, put them on a rack, cheese in the oven, about 350 for like 10 minutes. And you can check it, because if you want really bubbly brown cheese, I didn't quite get there yet. It's okay. It's still really good, and you got that really, really super extra crispy crunch on your grilled cheese sandwich. Stands up to soup really well. Standard grilled cheese, not too hard. American cheese, a couple of white bread, butter in the pan, move it about 3 minutes, flip it over, and let it go again, get nice brown on both sides. And then finally, the quesadilla. Don't eat any butter in a pan. 2 flour tortillas, cheese in the middle. You can push down on it, make sure you feel that cheese melting, and then you can do that death-defying flip. It's pretty easy. Make sure you're wearing some oven gloves, or you can do it barehanded, but the chance of burning is up there, particularly if you're using a really oily cheese and the oil drips out on your wrist. Ow, not fun. So that's why we went the safety route. Again, another reminder, make sure your butter's warm, make sure your cheese is warm, make sure your bread is warm, because warm cheese, warm bread, all that good stuff, warm butter, just makes for a better sandwich. All right, gentlemen, that's it. I hope you had fun. I always have fun cooking with you. Thanks for coming into my kitchen. Please fill out the survey afterwards. If you got any questions, you can always email me. Happy to answer them. Take care, and I'll see you soon.